Standing alone on the rooftop, a girl feels deeply disappointed after taking a year off from school and failing to get into her preferred universities. Just as she starts to feel hopeful upon receiving an acceptance email from the Imperial University, somebody suddenly pushes her off the rooftop, shocking her. As she falls, memories rush through her mind of her loved ones and a fortune teller's eerie prediction about her short life. When Hanasaki Rinko wakes up, she finds herself reborn as Raeliana McMillan in a novel's world, which leaves her confused. In the mansion, her maid tells her it's time for dinner. Raeli joins her father and sister, Rosemary, at the table. Jondine McMillan, the head of her new family, is a baron renowned in the oil industry. Raeliana reveals a surprising truth that she is not the main character, but a supporting one. She explains that the real heroine is a girl studying abroad, who will return upon learning of Raeliana's tragic death. Raeliana knows her death will be caused by arsenic poisoning in her evening tea given by her fiancé, Francis Brooks. Determined not to accept her fate this time, Raeliana plans to uncover Francis's deceit, who aims to win over her grieving parents after her death to take control of the family business until the true heroine's return exposes him. What a creep. Raeliana realizes no one will believe her if she accuses Francis of trying to kill her. Determined to take matters into her own hands, she decides to end their engagement. During a walk in the garden, she bravely tells Francis they should break up, but he dismisses her with a laugh. She tries again, but he ignores her once more. Frustrated, she seeks advice from a breakup book, yet the outcome is the same. She tries various tricks, from spilling a drink on him to getting him to play piano while she slips away, but none work. Oh man, this guy just cannot take a hint. During a hunting trip, she purposefully aims the gun in the wrong direction, nearly shooting Francis, yet he did not change his mind. The next day, Francis visits her house, but she coldly turns him away, saying they had no plans to meet. He becomes angry and grabs her arm, demanding to know why she's avoiding him. He reveals that despite their engagement being political, he believed their relationship was more meaningful. Raeliana expresses that she does not share the same feelings. Francis smiles maliciously, asserting that her family is fortunate he agreed to marry her and warns her that she cannot escape the marriage no matter what she does. Ugh, this guy just gives me the ick. Go touch some grass, man. At a social gathering, Raeliana is lost in thought until Noah Voltaire Winknight, the Duke of their nation and the novel's protagonist, appears. Raeliana reveals that in the kingdom of Camus, the royal authority decayed with the rise of capitalism, and old nobles devised a plan to remove the nouveau riche before they could gain power. The transfer of noble ranks is forbidden by the nouveau riche prevention law, quote unquote, and the old nobles need the royal seal to enact it. However, the seal has been stolen. Noah Voltaire, first in line for the throne, comes from a family who is responsible for the military strength for generations. He is also the former queen's eldest son. Raeliana wonders if this powerful man can help end Francis Brooks. Meanwhile, Jake Langston warns Francis to stick to their plan or else he will be dead. Francis searches for Raeliana and finds her with Noah in the garden. Raeliana introduces herself and they discuss a potential alliance regarding the royal seal until Francis interrupts. Taking the opportunity, Raeliana reveals that she and Noah are close, and then Noah places his arm around her as a confirmation. Before she could leave, Francis grabs her arm forcefully, demanding confirmation from Raeliana, who affirms her feelings for Noah. Before Francis can harm her, Noah intervenes, instructing guards to escort Raeliana away. The maid informs Raeliana that the Duke has come to visit. Upon hearing the news, Raeliana asks her to have him wait in the living room. When she enters the room, she finds him holding a bouquet of flowers. He tells her he is happy she made it home safely and asks if she is all right, noting that she looks pale. She responds that she is just surprised and honored to see him again. He expresses that he has been waiting to see her. Determined to take control of her own fate, Raeliana goes to the library and buys a book about how to write a contract. In the evening, her parents demand to know why the Duke came to visit her. Raeliana seizes the opportunity to explain that she wants to break off her engagement with Lord Brooks, admitting she does not love him and was merely trying to abide by the decision made by both families. Her parents comfort her, reassuring her that they understand and respect her decision. Raeliana arrives at a mansion and is greeted by a guard who informs her that the master is waiting for her inside. She walks in, and the Duke, Noah, insists they skip the introductions and get straight to their main deal. She boldly reveals that she knows the royal seal is in his possession, and that his role as a guide to lead the old nobility against the new ones is just for show, making him not a suspect. The Duke tries to end their discussion, but Raeliana maintains her composure. She asserts that she believes the royal seal is buried in the grave of his cousin, Robert Winknight. Noah warns her and asks her to leave. As she stands to go, she hopes for something to stop her. She then teases him by suggesting he move the bishop to the right, which would place the Gale family underneath him, since the next head of the Gale family is not the eldest son, Valdur, but the second, Harrelson. Just before she can leave, he asks her to wait and concedes that they will negotiate. He reads the contract she provides, which requests him to pretend to be her fiancé, clarifying that this is her only condition. He demands to know the reason behind it. She explains that she heard a rumor about Lord Brooks planning to kill her, which is why she needs a justification to end her engagement with him. He questions if she believes the rumor because it comes from the same source that informed her about the royal seal. She firmly demands that he not require her to disclose the source, reassuring him that the source of her information is already dead. She tells him that if he does not accept, they will forget about the contract, but she insists that the information she possesses is valuable. He laughs at her proposal, and she explains that it only takes 6 months of pretending to be her fiancé, and then he will never have to see her again. To her shock, he agrees to sign. He tells her that she will need to play her part as his fiancé when he needs her to. She asks what he means by that, and he replies that she will see soon enough. Okay, things are getting a bit spicy. Raeliana begins to regret her decision as disasters keep occurring afterward. The family of Lord Brooks demands immense compensation for the engagement annulment. Noah assigns Adam Taylor as her observer specifically. She reveals that Adam Taylor was hired by the Winknight family as a knight after they halted the use of child soldiers. In 3 days, she will have to move to the Duke's mansion so that she can be a candidate for marriage in the House of Winknight. Each time Raeliana tries to start a conversation with Adam, he does not respond. In the garden, her sister joins her, telling her that she has been praying for her to be happy with the Duke, and she lets her balloon fly to the gods to carry her wish. The balloon gets stuck in a branch, and Adam frees it from the tree, letting it fly away. Rosemary gives Adam chocolate, which makes him soften. Noticing his reaction, Raeliana gives him a bag of chocolate as well. Raeliana arrives at the mansion and is welcomed by Gideon Jura, the supervising butler, who is eager to tell her about the mansion's history. Later, she lies in bed, complaining about her lack of interest in the mansion's history. Suddenly, the Duke, sitting in her room, catches her off guard. He offers her a drink, leaving her shocked and wondering how long he has been there. What a creeper. She lashes out at him for entering her room without permission, and he asks if she requires privacy. She asserts that she does, but he informs her that she should not expect such a thing. He then assures her that he will take care of the Brooks family, so she should not worry and instead focus on getting used to her new life at the mansion and the bridal training awaiting her. She explains that she is not expecting much from him as a fiancé, but to keep up with the act. Then she asks if there are other people who know about their deal. He explains that there are 2 people besides him that know: Adam Taylor and another person she should soon meet. This means they will keep up with the act even in the mansion. He informs her that he will make sure to treat her as his beloved fiancée, both publicly and privately. This makes her want to discuss rules that are not included in the contract. She asks him to address her by her name and to give her privacy when she is in her room. He agrees and then gets up to leave. He says goodbye and reassures her that she can ask for anything she wants since they can provide her with anything. She asks him to let her be by herself. He then informs her that she should call him Noah, to which she agrees. He demands that she will say his name, but she says she will later when she asks for something else. He lifts up her chin and insists that she does it right at that moment, so she nervously does. He leaves and she rushes to the pillow and starts punching it, unaware that he watches and laughs before closing the door. Raeliana begins learning her social etiquette as part of her bridal training, while also studying for college entrance exams. 2 weeks later, she is sitting by the window out of boredom when a leaf rests on her hair. Startled, she looks up to find Noah removing it. He teases her about wearing a leaf in her hair, offering to buy her jewelry if she desires. She asks what he wants, and he hands her a bouquet of roses. As she reaches for it, he pulls it away teasingly, which annoys her. Then he gives it to her. He informs her that his people are very impressed by her, calling her the perfect bride, and asks why she changed her mind since that was not her intention. She smiles and explains that she has been studying because she wants to learn new things, and it has nothing to do with him. He then informs her about a ball he must attend and plans to announce their engagement there, since the engagement ceremony is in a week. This shocks her, rightfully so, and she scolds him for the late notice. She excuses herself to get ready, but he tells her she does not have to and invites Nick Maddox, the magician, to get her ready for the ball. Monsieur Nick advises Raeliana that there are 2 popular smiles in high society. The first is the Noah Winnight smile, which is equally given to everyone and hints that nobody has any business speaking to him. The second is the Vivian Chamel smile, known as the true vixen's smile. Nick helps her prepare, and when she is ready, she asks Master Taylor what he thinks of her look. He is shocked to see her looking beautiful. Gideon then guides her to Noah's study room where he is waiting. She enters the room, and when he sees her, he is stunned and keeps staring at her. He walks out, leaving her standing there, so she follows him to the carriage. They arrive at their destination, and Noah warns her not to leave his sight for more than 5 minutes. He points at the guards walking behind them, hinting that they will be watching over her. At the ball, everyone turns to look at Raeliana. Marquess Eritiel congratulates them on their engagement. Raeliana wonders if Lady Vivian Chamal will show up. Noah places his hand on Raeliana's shoulder and declares that she is his greatest fortune, which makes her nervous. Men start approaching Raeliana, asking her for a dance, but Noah stops them, saying no, which shocks everyone around them. He then asks Raeliana for a dance, and she agrees. They begin dancing together. He advises her to watch out for her facial expressions, otherwise people will know the truth. She steps on his feet and then apologizes, but then he gracefully guides her backward with a tilt. Her body leans elegantly away from him, supported by his firm yet tender grip. Lady Vivian arrives at the ball. This woman has tried everything to appeal to Noah, yet with no success. This has caused her heartbreak, and she ends up accepting the king's marriage proposal. Raeliana reveals that once the heroine Beatrice enters a relationship with Noah, Vivian will try everything to get between them and ruin the relationship. The red-haired woman is praised by the girls at the ball for her beauty. Raeliana realizes that she will be the target now that she is Noah's fiancée. Scared, Raeliana decides to move through the crowd without bringing attention to her movement, but her fiancé startles her when he catches her off guard and asks her what she is doing. She lies that her shoulders are stiff. He reminds her of the contract and that she should play her part as his fiancée when he needs her to. She asks him if he needs her now, and he responds saying yes, for that woman, referring to Vivian. This incident makes her nervous, and she starts arguing that it was Vivian Chamal. However, he corrects her and explains that he was referring to the woman next to her, Frise Eritiel, the wife of Marquess Eritiel. He goes on to explain that certain wives of old nobles belong to a special group due to their husbands' popularity. What these women discuss affects the entire kingdom. He informs his fiancée that she must receive an invitation from Frise to join this group and hands her 2 glasses of wine, expressing his reliance on her, which makes her smile. Raeliana tells him that she will need him to return the favor later. She accidentally bumps into Frise, spilling wine on both of them. She reassures Freese that it is okay and suggests they go to another room to clean their hands. As they move, Raeliana gasps when she sees Lady Vivian walking behind them. Lady Vivian greets Raeliana, who returns the greeting politely. Raeliana excuses herself, and Freese is taken aback by her wine-covered hand. Vivian asks if wiping them would suffice, to which Freese agrees. Vivian tries to belittle Raeliana's academic background, as she is from the abolished Estoda class, but Raeliana takes it as a compliment, which infuriates Vivian. Their conversation is interrupted by Nick, who teases Vivian about being unnoticed. He even sneezes in her face to annoy her further, joking that he is allergic to vixens. Seizing the opportunity, Raeliana leaves with Freese. However, Freese worries whether the guards will follow them. Raeliana tries to dismiss them, but they refuse. She instructs the female guard to stay and asks Adam to inform the Duke about their whereabouts. Freese and Raeliana sit together, and Freese confides that despite her noble household, she still isn't used to such events, having only moved to the capital after her marriage. Raeliana reassures Freese, expressing her own empathy. Raeliana expresses envy about the group of noble ladies. Freese invites Raeliana to join the group, which delights her. They are about to return to the ballroom when the guard opens the door, revealing a sudden smokescreen. The guard checks if Raeliana is okay, but before she can answer, someone covers her mouth and kidnaps her. Raeliana finds herself in the back of a carriage, being carried by Lord Brooks. He uses his status to exploit women for money, including Jake Langston's sister, who tragically took her own life. Jake informs her about Francis Brooks' plan to first engage with Raeliana and then kill her. When she wakes up, Jake is there. She remembers what happened and realizes Francis is the mastermind, making her furious. She starts screaming and hitting the carriage, but Jake assures her no one will hear. She warns him about the consequences of kidnapping the Duke's fiancée, but he grabs her aggressively. Afraid he might harm her face, she apologizes. He laughs, mocking her, and waves his knife, ordering her to stay silent. The carriage's wheel breaks, leaving them stuck on the road. Jake decides they'll leave the carriage and head into the woods. Francis Brooks appears, surprised that Raeliana knows his plan. She covers his head with a blanket, pushes him away, and runs into the woods. Francis chases after her. She hides behind a tree, praying for someone to save her. She tears her dress and decides not to give up. As she walks through the woods, someone suddenly covers her mouth. It's Adam Taylor, the knight. He tells her to be quiet. They hear movement in the bushes, and Adam quickly draws his sword, facing Jake. Jake throws a bottle containing a secret monster-attracting drug, summoning a beast. Raeliana realizes they are near a cliff. Suddenly, she falls off the cliff, fearing the worst. Miraculously, Noah catches her just in time. He holds her close, but she insists he put her down because Adam is in danger. Noah remains calm. Adam defeats the beast and guards capture Jake. Noah orders the guards to search for Lord Brooks. The Duke wraps his jacket over Raeliana's shoulders to keep her warm. She notices a gun in Noah's pocket. When she hears guards mention Francis's presence, she takes the gun from Noah's pocket and starts shooting near Francis, terrifying him. She smiles at the fear on his face. She turns and sees Noah and the guards staring at her in shock. Later, she rides on the same horse as her fiancé. Raeliana thanks Noah for saving her. He holds her close and lets her rest on his chest. The Duke orders Adam to kill off Francis and Jake. In the morning, Raeliana awakens and finds herself in the same bed as Noah, which makes her nervous. She asks him if they had slept together the previous night, and he teases her, explaining that she was the one begging for it. Embarrassed, she leaves the bed and walks to the door, but he calls out her name. She opens the door and asks Taylor to save her, but he was ordered by his master to bring the girl back to him. He picks her up and flees out the window. Noah rushes out of bed and looks out of the window, shocked. Noah informs Gideon that Raeliana has been kidnapped by Taylor and he needs to be captured. Raeliana and Taylor are in the estate's garden. She asks Taylor if they can go out for a bit, but he shakes his head. She informs Taylor that she had not showered the previous night, and he leads her to the bathrooms assigned for maids. She dresses up in a maid's outfit. She sneaks into the kitchen and overhears the maid's gossip, which makes her gasp. She reassures the chef that she is a new maid who came to get Raeliana food. He approaches her and gives her food to take as well. She takes the meal and shares it with Taylor. Taylor gives her his hand and leads her to Noah's study room since no one would suspect that she is there. She's trying to reach for a book. Then someone grabs it for her. It turns out to be Keith Westenberg, who is in Noah's right hand and is well loved. He is amazed that she can read Encryptian, and when she explains that she is self-taught, he holds her hands and expresses his amusement. They are interrupted by Noah. He recognizes her despite her outfit. When Noah is getting close to him, she calls him a pervert for taking advantage of her as she slept and warns him to stay away. He informs her that nothing occurred between them for the previous night. He places his hand on the bookshelf near her head and leans close to her, reassuring her that he only wanted her to sleep peacefully. He apologizes for deceiving her, which shocked both her and Keith. She is about to walk away, but he pulls her arm and starts kissing her hand until she forgives him. She pulls her hand away and asks him to let go. Then she left, with her face becoming red. Keith and Noah watched as she left. Raeliana's parents come to check on her upon learning that she had been kidnapped. Noah reassures them that Brooks is held at St. Bell Prison, which is the highest security prison in the kingdom, which shocked them all. He promises them to protect Raeliana for the rest of his life. The next day, as Raeliana is in her room, the door bursts open and Mary Wayne, a bride's shop owner, enters the room and introduces the dress that Raeliana will be wearing for the engagement. After getting ready, she walks out to find her fiancé waiting. They're in the carriage. Later, she lies in her bed but then wakes up and finds herself in a boat with Noah, who informs her that they are on a date, and there are fireworks by the Champagne River. He tells her that he noticed she has been avoiding him before the ceremony, and that he does not want others suspecting that there is anything wrong. She informs him that there is something she wants to talk about. He suspects that she wants to break up with him since there is no use for him now, which is what she intended to do, but he asks her to stay by his side until she no longer needs him. She asks him if he ever loved someone, and he says no, explaining that he is part of a royal family so he cannot take the risk. She reassures him that someday he will fall in love. The next day, Raeliana receives a letter from Fries and an invitation to the gathering. She's informed that they will meet after the monster hunt, a 3-day event held every year in the secret mountains to prepare for winter by stopping monsters from attacking citizens. Nobles, known for their combat prowess, offer the monsters they catch to the woman of their choice. Raeliana discovers that letters she tries to send to Beatrice are returned to her, even though the address is correct. An old lady advises Raeliana to use the bamboo leaf, oak, and birds from Noah's family crest if she plans to offer him handkerchiefs, despite his refusal to accept them from women. Later, she finds Noah sleeping on the couch in his study room, papers scattered beside him. As she picks them up, she admires his beauty and reminisces about how Beatrice and Noah met. But he calls her name, snapping her out of her thoughts. Blushing, she apologizes, and he teases her about sneaking around to watch him sleep before letting her go. She punches her pillow in embarrassment, and he laughs. The maid helps Raeliana get ready, advising her to dress warmly for the cold, secret mountains. Upon arriving, Lady Vivian spots Raeliana. Noah approaches with Taylor, and Raeliana gives Taylor a handkerchief, while Noah teases her about giving one to another man in front of him. He asks for one from her, and when she says she doesn't have one, he hints at the handkerchief she is about to give to Taylor. Insisting he wants one from her, Noah kneels down, resting his head on her hand. She pulls her hand away, cautioning him to be careful. Jasper Granger, Lord of Secret Castle, approaches Raeliana, informing her about Creodor, a fierce monster known as the true Lord of the Secret Mountains. Lady Vivian invites Raeliana to sit at the table, but she initially declines, eventually taking a central seat. Raeliana mentions Noah accepting a handkerchief from her is enough, irritating Vivian. Raeliana continues to provoke Vivian until she stands up, angrily. Concerned for Noah, Raeliana is interrupted when one of the ladies spills wine on her. She calls them childish and leaves. The next day, the first group returns from the hunt. Raeliana stands by the window next to Vivian and the other ladies. She hears a scream and sees Dame Ansley in distress. Raeliana holds her and asks if she is okay, but Dame Ansley can't say much. Raeliana rushes out of the castle and finds Noah by the gate. He greets her and offers her a creador, apologizing for not finding a dragon, assuming that's what she wanted. Jasper Granger is impressed and declares that Raeliana will light the sacred flame this year, which angers Vivian. Noah publicly apologizes again for not finding a dragon. Seeing Vivian watching, Raeliana holds his face, mentioning it's wet from the rain. He draws her closer, declaring he'd endure anything for her. They walk inside, and Raeliana winks teasingly at Vivian on the way. Inside, she asks Noah when she said she wanted a dragon. Taylor shows her the handkerchief which she made with a dragon drawing. After Taylor leaves, Noah teases her about wanting to stay to watch him undress. Annoyed, she covers his lips with her hands, getting closer, which makes him nervous and shy. Then she leaves. Later, Duke and Keith discuss that Duke Blake has grown closer to a woman, investigating her identity. Furious, Vivian holds a box with a green jewel given to her by a woman promising it will help her get what she wants. The next day, Raeliana learns Vivian has left the castle. Noah tells her he will go to the temple first and looks forward to the ceremony. As they pack Raeliana's luggage, she notices the green jewel and wonders if she ever had that. On the road to the temple, Raeliana admires the streets lined with birch trees. A guard explains that pilgrims plant them on their way to the temple, a custom started by the priest who planted one after a terrible disaster. He mentions that priest Hika, a living legend, currently resides at the temple. Upon arriving, Raeliana is greeted by Eugenia, a servant of God, who guides her through the lighting of the sacred flame. She is informed that she needs to go to the purification chamber to cleanse herself as a requirement for the ceremony. Reluctantly, she eats a gruel before bathing. Later, while standing in the garden, Raeliana notices a red bird that appears to be drowning. She enters the water and saves it, unaware that the Hika is watching. He advises her that birds unable to fly high to escape the dome eventually lose their ability, grow weak, and die. Remembering the servant's mention of the dome's boundary line past the spring, she walks there. The priest follows, warning her that drastic temperature changes would harm the bird. Ignoring him, she attempts to release the bird, but it lands on the rocks, reminding her of her own fate. Turning to the priest, Raeliana holds his face and tells him that where there's a will, there's always a way to live. True that, girl. He pushes her away, revealing himself as Hika, the one and only. However, Raeliana is focused on watching the bird fly high, which surprises Hika. He orders his servant to find her to teach her respect. Raeliana pleads with the servant to spare her from eating gruel, and instead she transcribes holy texts. Hika later discovers someone has finished his interpretations but is impressed by the talent and sends out a butterfly to find the person. The butterfly rests on Raeliana's shoulder. He asks if she is the one who interpreted the texts, and she confirms it. He speaks a special language used only in the temple, and she replies in kind, shocking him. He calls his servant and declares her his disciple, but she declines and quickly leaves. Back in her room, a maid approaches Raeliana, giving her the green jewel and suggesting it as a hair accessory. A girl with purple hair drops her handkerchief near the Duke, who steps on it. Keith informs Noah that it belongs to Lady Baleen, prompting him to instruct Keith to apologize on his behalf and assure her he will make it up to her. Noah waits for Raeliana by the stairs, and when she arrives, he takes her hand. The Hika descends from the stairs, flanked by holy knights on each side. He notices that Raeliana doesn't seem to recognize who he is, so he opens the gate to the Holy Land and brings forth the holy knights. The jewel in Raeliana's head changes color and starts to crack. The Hika uses his powers to remove the jewel before it can burst inside her head. Later, the Hika orders Noah to break up with Raeliana, but the Duke refuses and offers to support the temple financially, as they have been suffering. At the purification bath, Noah visits Raeliana but accidentally startles her. He informs her that Francis Brooks and Jake are dead, wondering who could be trying to harm her. She promises to tell him the next day, but he aggressively pulls her arm, demanding she tell him immediately because he can't stand the thought of her being hurt. She pushes him into the water, reminding him of where they are. Puzzled by his agitation, she helps him out of the water. He apologizes, confessing that the fear of losing her made him lose his composure. Blushing, she asks him what he means, but he tells her to rest. At the ceremony, she expresses gratitude to the Hika, who hands her the sacred flame, and she lights it up. Later, Vivian's father advises his son Justin to look after his sister and convince her to marry the king. Justin goes to his sister's room and hears her screaming and shouting. When he enters, he finds the room in disarray and is surprised to see Beatrice among the guests. Raeliana stands by her window, watching as her fiancé trains in sword fighting. He approaches her, asking her if she's bored and noting her intense gaze at him. He checks on her and suggests they do something more fun. Later, he takes her to a jewelry shop, explaining it's out of respect for her. The woman at the shop presents them with various options, and he decides to buy the entire shop for his fiancée. He selects a necklace and places it around her neck. They enjoy their time together, both smiling. Returning to the mansion, Gideon whispers something in the Duke's ear, prompting Noah to excuse himself. A maid advises Raeliana about a magical mirror in one of the mansion's rooms where she can ask anything. In the room, Raeliana holds the mirror and is startled to see the reflection of a ghost. Gathering courage to look through its eyes, she senses someone's presence and drops the mirror, shattering it. It turns out to be Noah, who asks if she's okay. She explains about seeing a ghost, and he promises to bring a priest the next day. Noah offers to walk her back to her room, holding her hand. When they arrive, she thanks him and says goodnight, but he holds the door, concerned if she's scared after seeing the ghost. He escorts her back into her room and suggests he'll stay in the chair to watch over her as she sleeps. She insists he take the bed while she sleeps in the chair. He picks her up and lays her on the bed, lighting candles and then lying down next to her. He asks if he can read the book she has, and despite it not being his usual genre, he insists he doesn't care about genres. They share their favorite parts of the book, and later he watches over her as she sleeps. The Duke visits his brother, the king, who informs him they no longer need the royal seal. They discuss the story behind Raeliana's engagement, and the king tells Noah he's now free to break off the engagement. Raeliana goes to Robert Winknight's grave, believing it's where Beatrice and Duke Noah might meet. Upon arrival, she sees someone resembling Beatrice but realizes it isn't her. Meanwhile, Noah explains to the king that he won't end his engagement yet because Raeliana has still got a role to fulfill as his fiancée. Back at the grave, the blonde-haired guy, who happens to be Justin, Vivian's brother, offers Raeliana alcohol to calm down, and they drink together. She notices the grave of Robert has disappeared. Justin asks whom she mistook him for, and she explains what happened. He advises her not to blame herself and reassures her that everyone is responsible for their own lives, which comforts her. Later, Raeliana returns to the mansion where the guards express concern for her. She sneezes, and they rush to care for her. When Noah returns home, he checks on her. Touching her face, he notices the smell of alcohol on her. He carries her in his arms, and she mentions noticing his recent kindness. Placing her in bed, she asks if they will break up, but he tells her to sleep. As he prepares to leave, she grabs his hand, confessing she can't stop thinking about him lately. Struggling to finish her sentence, he asks if she wants him to cure her cold. She demands to know how, and he suggests passing it to someone else. Leaning in, he kisses her softly on the lips.